Good evening. Once again, we return to the story of Caius, Spellsword, Dunmer, Eternal Champion, former head of the Blades in Vardenfell, Hortator of the Great Houses, Nerevarine, Champion of Cyrodiil, and as always, I'm a little bit lost on where I was, but if I recall correctly, we're in the middle of Knights of the Nine.
I've recovered the cuirass of the Crusader. I should talk to the ghosts of the former Knights of the Nine to see if they can aid me in my quest for the remaining Crusader's relics.
And if I recall correctly, in the book that we had read, it sort of told us who had each one, but we'll just talk to them one at a time.
By the Nine, I've not seen such strength. Could you be... No, you cannot. You are simply a noble knight.
Where's the helm of the Crusader?
You completed the quest that I could not. I'm glad that my death at least served to lead you here, as I had hoped.
Apparently I haven't. Tell me about the Knights of the Nine.
The original Order of the Nine was founded with the intention of safekeeping the Crusader's relics. In life, we failed at this task. In death, we seek to preserve what little we accomplished while we wait for one to come and finish what we began.
And Sir Beric?
One of the mightiest knights of my day. It was a great boost to the Order's prestige when he joined. Unfortunately, he and I did not see eye to eye on certain matters. He left the Order during the War of the Red Diamond and never returned. May your sword strike true. How may I serve you, Commander?
Changing your name. Tell me more about the Knights of the Nine.
In death, we continued the work that escaped us in life. The relics must still be guarded, for someday they shall be needed once more.
And Sir Beric?
Alas, my old comrade is not among us here. We do not know why his spirit did not join us here to guard our last relic. We were estranged in life, but I had hoped that in death we could be reconciled. For my part, I now know that I am largely to blame for the ruin of the old order. Sir Amiel takes too much upon himself. I will say no more. May the Nine guide your way.
I wish to see you succeed where I failed. I was on the path to the boots of the Crusader, but died before I reached them. Do you wish to learn what little I know?
Tell me more.
I cannot tell you exactly how to find the boots, for that will be up to Kinnereth. I can tell you to seek out her priests, though. West of the Imperial City, on the edge of the Great Forest, is a shrine. You will find them there, and they will tell you what you need to know.
The priest and I go way back. Tell me more about the boots.
The boots are safeguarded by Kinnereth herself. You must be tested and prove yourself worthy to acquire them.
And your opinion on the Knights?
The wars of men undermine the service of the Nine. Do not follow in our mistakes. May your sword strike true.
I am at your service, Commander.
Tell me about the Knights.
Complacency proved to be our greatest enemy. The service of the Nine requires eternal vigilance. May your sword strike true.
Sir Gregory?
Greetings, Sir Knight.
Tell me more about the boots of the Crusader.
The boots have been guarded by Kinnereth herself for the longest time. Sir Junkin went after them and never returned.
And the Knights?
In matters of faith, one cannot be bogged down in the affairs of this world. Learn from us. Cast aside your treasures and serve the Nine. May your sword strike true.
If you are true to the teachings of Julianus, it may be possible for you to find the shield of the Crusader.
What do you mean?
When the Order crumbled, I set out on my own. After years of searching, I found the shield and brought it to Fort Bulwark for safekeeping. With the help of a few trusted friends, I began work to keep the shield safe for all eternity. I never saw my work finished. I died defending the fort from those who would take and misuse the shield. I never saw our work finished. I trust that the others carried on without me.
Tell me more about the fort.
It lies in the southeast of Cyrodiil, near the Black Marsh border. If all went according to plan, it should be very well guarded now. Believe in yourself, and use your knowledge wisely. You will pass through unharmed, and the shield will be yours.
Anything else about Fort Bulwark?
Look to the southeast of Cyrodiil to find it. I cannot say for certain what is inside, but be prepared for anything.
What was this about Julianos?
History and knowledge are his domain. He is the god of wisdom and logic. He teaches us, know the truth, observe the law. When in doubt, seek wisdom from the wise.
And the knights?
Though we went our separate ways when the Order fell, we all served the Nine in our hearts. All but one.
Tell me more about the shield.
The shield is safeguarded within Fort Bulwark. It is protected, and care must be taken when attempting to find it. May the Nine guide your way.
Sir Ralvas?
You have my tribute, Sir Knight. In 300 years, none have passed the gauntlet. In 300 years, we have never known hope. But for the first time, it seems that someone may succeed where we have failed. I see in you the chance to redeem our souls and restore the Order. And now, I must ask you to press forward where I could not. I must ask you to face the challenge of Zenithar.
How did you fail?
I was arrogant and foolhardy. I sought personal glory. I placed my own will and my own lust for fame over the will of the Nine. In facing the challenge of Zenithar, I failed. I tried dozens, no, hundreds of times to reach the mace. I fell each time, and each time I awoke in the chapel, I leapt again. I tried to enlist the help of the other knights, but none would come to my aid. The inscription says to walk in the faith, but even now, I do not know what this means.
What must I do?
Below the chapel of Zenithar in Leowyn, there is a shrine to the great craftsman, Saint Calidus. Those seeking the mace must pray before the shrine. When you bow, you will receive a vision, or perhaps not. It is unclear. The priest saw that my body never moved, but it felt so real. You will see the mace separated from you by a great chasm. The chasm represents your doubt. Your faith must be your guide across it.
My faith will guide me.
This is what I know. As I said, my faith was weak. I did not understand the test, and I fell from the platform each time I tried to cross. I have told you all that I know. All that is left is for you to prove yourself more worthy than I. If you seek the mace, travel to Leowyn's chapel, kneel at the shrine in the Undercroft, and let your faith in the Nine be the salvation of us all.
Tell me more about the knights.
Our greed for the relics overshadowed our faith in the Nine. I can only hope that you are stronger than we were.
Anything else about the mace?
Legends say that when Pelinal Whitestrake was slain by the Aelids, a messenger carried the mace to the human settlement of Leowyn as a message. Centuries later, the master craftsman Saint Calidus built the chapel of Zenithar in Leowyn as a tribute to the legend. When Saint Calidus was laid to rest, those who prayed to Zenithar at his tomb began to receive visions of the Mace of the Crusader.
Tell me more about Zenithar.
Of the original divines, Zenithar is thought to be the most in touch with the mortal realm. Some legends say that Zenithar has close ties to Kinnereth, an idea that is supported by the manner in which the two gods' realms interact. Craftsmen devoted to Zenithar are able to create and profit from the materials provided by Kinnereth's natural world. The two work in harmony, the natural world providing for the craftsman. One cannot revere Zenithar without acknowledging the power of Kinnereth. Go with virtue.
And Sir Casimir.
I've spoken with the ghosts of the Knights of the Nine and learned where several parts of the armor of the Crusader are hidden. I should return when I have collected them all.
Well, we'll still talk to you.
I know where you may find the gauntlets of the Crusader, for I was the one who lost them. Though many know where they are still lost. I believe there is something you must do in order to retrieve them. Would you listen to my tale and learn of the gauntlet's fate?
Please tell me.
When the Order fractured, I followed Sir Beric into war, taking the gauntlets with me. When it was over, I returned to Cyrodiil. I attempted to return to the service of the Nine, but the war had changed me. I no longer had sympathy for the weak or pity for the suffering. In the brief time I was there, I did more to hurt the chapel than help it. It was there that I was cursed.
Cursed? What do you mean?
A beggar who came to the chapel each day for help tried my patience one too many times. I lost my temper and struck him. My blow landed harder than I had intended, and he fell to the floor dead, killed in the very chapel of the God of Mercy. I left the chapel at once, of course, but the damage was done. I was weak, constantly weary, and lacked the energy to do almost anything.
What about the gauntlets?
Ah, yes. As proof of the deed, when I struck the poor man, the gauntlets slipped right off my hands and fell to the floor. Heavy as stone, they would not move. None could lift them. I suspect they lie there still, in Coral's chapel. You must prove to Stendarr you are worthy to lift the gauntlets once more. Seek out the priests in Coral. Perhaps they can help you.
Tell me about this curse.
It was placed on me for defying the teachings of Stendarr in his very chapel. My entire lineage was ruined by this curse. Whether it is connected to the fate of the gauntlets, I do not know.
What about the boots of the Crusader?
When Sir Juncan died while questing after the boots, I mourned his loss. Now I wonder if perhaps it was a mercy that he left us when he did.
And anything else about the gauntlets?
I have no doubt that they still lie within the chapel of Stendarr in Coral. No mortal man could lift them.
In the Mace of Zenithar?
Sir Alvis quested for the mace after Sir Beric's betrayal. He believed that with the mace, he would be able to bring the rest of us together. He stayed in the chapel of Leowyn for months, attempting the test over and over. He hardly ate, hardly slept. In the end, he failed. He left the chapel broken and beaten. Sir Amiel found his body and laid him to rest here at the priory.
And your opinions on the Knights of the Nine?
We had only the best of intentions. Truly we did. We meant only to serve the Nine and the Empire. It's hard to believe it all went so wrong. Walk with the Nine, Sir Knight.
All right. So it looks like it's gonna make me individually seek out each relic as a quest. So let's see what's close. Okay, Kenrith's by the Imperial City. Okay, Fort Bulwark's some ways away. Coral. Alright, so we'll head up to Coral. We'll then stop by the Shrine of Kinnereth, and then I think we'll head sort of down and around. Let's see if I remember where I put my horse. Ah, yes. So I won't bother with roads this time around. Maybe back from the Imperial City I might head back to the road, but a straight line seems to make a bit more sense here. With luck, we should get through most, if not all of these tonight. Although I have learned that the DLC seems to be quite involved. It's either a very small bear or very tall grass. I was gonna say if it was Kinnereth, I might as well stop by, but No Leg Ball is a little bit different. I wasn't sure if it was showing me the health bar because of the, because of any damage or not. I wonder if Stendar's okay with me waking up his priest in the middle of the night while the lights are on.
Hi there.
Rejoice, through faith your afflictions are banished.
There they are.
The gauntlets are too heavy to move.
Blessings. I'm Orig Grabargel, servant of Stendar. May you grow in the faith.
Well,
Can I interest you in some of my wares?
Yes, let's talk about fortify strength. Let's also talk about greater fortify strength. Let's also talk about restore strength.
Thank you. Come again. Good day.
So obviously the correct answer is this only applies once, doesn't it? So 125.
What brings you here, my son?
The gauntlets.
Ah, yes. The gauntlets have been here for ages. I know only the basic story behind them. They're more of a novelty these days. My only real involvement with them these days is keeping the youngsters from hurting themselves trying to pick the gauntlets up. What is your interest in them, if I may ask?
I'd like to hurt myself trying to pick them up.
Oh, I'm afraid that's quite impossible. They don't move, not even a bit, as if they're the heaviest things in the world. Don't you know the story behind them? I'm not familiar with all the details, but I know roughly what happened.
Well, I'd like to know their story, even though I already do.
Yes, well, I don't know the whole thing. A great many years ago, a knight of the Old Order did something terrible, and the gauntlets just fell off. They dropped to the floor right where he stood, and no one could lift them. It was a sign of the curse placed upon this knight by Stendar, I think. That curse still lingers on today, in fact. Poor Kellen.
Who is Callan?
Oh, why, he's a descendant of that very knight from so long ago. The curse has affected his family all these years. He suffers from it now. He came here from Hammerfell seeking a cure, but, well, there's really nothing that can be done for him, I think. He may know more of the story than I. Perhaps you should speak with him if he's feeling well enough.
What else do you know about the curse?
It's a horrible thing, truly. One cannot help but pity those such as Kellen, who have such a burden placed on them through no fault of their own. But if it is the will of the Nine, then there is little that can be done.
Anything else about the gauntlets?
The gauntlets have been here far longer than any of us. I don't expect that to ever change. They'll almost certainly be here long after we're all gone. Certainly after Kellen's family has died out.
Where can I find Kellen?
He's down in the chapel hall, resting. You may speak to him if you like.
What do you know about the prophet?
The church has taken no official position on his teaching yet, but from the reports I've heard, he may be truly inspired by the divines. Are ask Kelly about
It is a privilege.
Wrong buttons. Evening.
What is it? Is there a cure? Has Arelder found a cure? I know there's something he's not telling me.
Tell me about this curse.
Ah, so you've heard it, have you? Terrible curse. Been in the family almost longer than anyone can remember. When I was younger, I could live with it. Wasn't so bad. But it's only gotten worse over time. I'd come here, to the place it all happened, in the hopes that something could be done. I fear I haven't much time left otherwise. Arelder has let me stay, mostly out of pity, I think. But there's something else. I swear he knows more than he tells.
Tell me more about Arelder.
I've seen plenty of pity in people's eyes over the years. I grew up recognizing it. But with Arelder, there's something else there. And when he speaks to me, there are times I'd swear he sounds apologetic. Guilty, even. Why would that be? What reason does he have to hold back information? I know I'm a doomed man one way or the other. Speak to him if you can. Convince him to tell me what he knows as a dying man's last wish.
Anything else you know about the gauntlets of the Crusader?
You've seen them, I assume. The only evidence of what happened so many years ago. Do you know that I thought perhaps I could lift them? That somehow this curse would be lifted if I could pick them up. I tried for hours, until my whole body ached, and I could barely move. I lay there on the floor next to them, weeping. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I've been at the end of my rope for far too long to be ashamed of anything.
Anything else about the gauntlets?
I don't know why they're still here. They're so heavy. And I'm so weak. What does Stendar want from me?
Kellen told me that his family has been cursed for generations, and that he has come to the Chapel of Stendar to be freed of this curse. I should speak with Arelder.
Welcome, Knight Commander.
Tell me more about Kellen.
I cannot face him. I know what might be done for him, but I haven't the will to do it. I wish I could help him. Truly I do. But I cannot muster the strength to damn myself on his behalf.
What are you talking about?
The curse. I know what would lift it, but I cannot do it. The only way to free Kellen of his curse is to take it on myself. I am not strong enough to do this, and so I am a failure. I fail Kellen every time I speak to him, and I fail Stendar every time I pray to him and do not ask for the power to lift the curse. Do you know one who would do such a thing? One who would pray at this chapel's altar, pray to Stendar for the power to lift this curse? I've told you, the only way to lift the curse from Kellen is to pray to Stendar for the power to free him. But that means taking the curse on yourself. You'll be marked for life, as will all your children and your children's children.
This is the God of Mercy, huh?
Farewell.
The priest has told me that the only way to lift the curse from Kellen is to take it on myself. I need to pray at the altar in the chapel if I wish to lift the curse.
Dear Stendar, you're a dick. Oh, Okay, I guess this is the other one.
Do you wish to pray to Stendar for the power to lift Kellen's curse?
I do.
I prayed at the altar in the chapel of Stendar, and I have been granted the ability to lay hands on Kellen. I need to see him at once.
Come back to see the doomed man, have you?
I'm missing something here.
Bye.
The power of Caius compels you.
I have lifted the curse from Kellen, which means taking it on myself. As a result, I am weary and my fatigue has been affected. With the curse lifted, I can now retrieve the gauntlets of the Crusader.
How did you? I feel good. I feel good. I don't feel like death. I feel like running. Look at me.
How goes it?
Oh, it's going. Oh, never mind.
I have recovered the gauntlets of the Crusader. I have completed Sir Casimir's quest by recovering the gauntlets of the Crusader. I should continue to search for the relics that the other ghost knights were questing for.
Live with that Malentis Ancrus. How?
You?
Cursed.
Hail.
So I think after Kinnereth we have to spend our time essentially in the south of the map, but we'll double check the path before we head out. It's also close enough to the Imperial City I might want to check out my reagents. Honestly, I suspect I'll probably make that decision based on whether or not it's daylight and how much weight I'm carrying. Oh, stop complaining. That was a cool jump.
What is it?
If you're all alone in the woods and you see a troll coming, you run. Problem solved. Next question.
The
All
same.
are welcome here.
Have you heard?
What brings you to the altar of Kinnereth, my child?
I'm looking for the boots of the Crusader.
You would seek the holy relic Kinnereth has bestowed upon the world. Then you must prove yourself worthy. Kinnereth's creations guard her relic, and you must pass the test before you may be granted the boots.
What test?
I cannot say what it will be, for I do not know. Kinnereth herself will decide in what manner you shall be tested. All I can do is direct you to the Grove of Trials, and remind you to heed Kinnereth's teachings. Fear and respect nature and all her creations.
Where's the grove?
Not far from here, to the west, nestled within the great forest, it is a place many would overlook. I warn you that it is unwise to take anyone with you. You should go there alone.
And what about fearing and respecting nature?
Indeed. Nature itself is Kinnereth's domain. All its creatures are her wards. You would do well to remember this when it comes time for your test.
Very well, I shall take the test.
Then proceed directly to the grove, as your test has begun. Kinnereth may choose to guard you along the way. That is up to her. Good luck.
Anything else I should know about the boots?
You must be tested by Kinnereth before you are worthy of the boots.
And the altar?
You have been in the chapel of Kinnereth from the moment you stepped outdoors. Have you not felt her presence? We gather here to pay tribute to all of the blessings she bestows upon us. You too.
Nothing I'd like to talk about.
So I'm leaving the horse here just because I was told not to bring anybody.
In order to be granted the boots of the Crusader, I must travel to a sacred grove in the Great Forest and be tested by Kinnereth. I've reached the Grove of Trials. I shall have to wait and see what Kinnereth has in store for me.
That all you got?
Bear attacked me in the sacred grove, but I made no attempts to fight back. A cave has been revealed, and it would seem the boots of the Crusader are waiting inside.
I was just about to fail that test.
I have acquired the boots of the Crusader. I've completed Sir Junken's quest by recovering the boots of the Crusader. I should continue to search for the relics that the other Ghost Knights were questing for.
This is actually a really nice little environment. I know I've said this a couple of times, but there seems to be something of a consensus that Oblivion wasn't quite as varied as Morrowind, and that was a failing, but I actually do quite like the setting of Oblivion. I can kind of see why people might not, but Oh, God. Alright, well, I'll just head due east and hope for the best.
What brings you here?
Okay, I kind of want to believe that the woman I spoke to was the Guardian.
Well met.
Good evening.
Take Shadinall, for example. Pretty little.
Anyway, what I had meant to say was, like, I kind of get why people might feel that, but I really do like the environment in Cyrodiil. It feels appropriate, and I haven't quite gotten tired of it. There are some things that I do find a little tiresome, but the setting isn't one of them. Alright, so Fort Bulwark is the furthest point out. So maybe just Leowin and Fort Bulwark. Maybe that's the way to go.
Down. But the Count's a dark elf.
One mild regret I have is that there don't quite seem to have been the same opportunities to find more books. So I've got sort of some incomplete volumes, and it isn't quite like the rare bookstore in Morrowind. Or there isn't a place quite like the rare bookstore in Morrowind. I half expected the horse to complain about that. Still a good horse, just... Just want to make sure that I'm not... Yeah, I'm going to be skirting the edge of the map, but I should be fine. Actually, if I'm doing a straight line, I am probably going to run to the side. Let's see if I can find a convenient river crossing. Oh, come on. This is a narrow crossing and they block it. This is one of the cases where finding the bridge and getting back on the road is worth it, even if there are locations for me to discover. The fact that I'm not going to get hit by the invisible walls is a decent trade-off in my view. So when I was talking about scenery, like just being able to walk around and see this. Some of this is why I'm still okay leaving the mods on, because I know that the mods are enabling some of the visuals, but overall it's just really nice to be able to see the world and sort of feel like I'm taking part in it. Let me just double check the... Yep, I have to go to the chapel.
It's you. I've heard of you. You're the one restoring the Knights of the Nine, aren't you?
Who told you? I'm merely a servant of the Nine.
Such humility. I admire you. I am Caradus Aholan. I originally came to this chapel in search of the Mace of Zenithar. I tried, but I could not pass the test. My faith was weak, or perhaps Zenithar decided it was not I who should carry the mace. He has found a use for me, however. The priests have asked me to stay on to protect the chapel. After what happened in Anvil, they are afraid.
Tell me about your views on Zenithar.
Of the original divines, Zenithar is thought to be the most in touch with the mortal realm. Some legends say that Zenithar has close ties to Kinnereth, an idea that is supported by the manner in which the two gods' realms interact. Craftsmen devoted to Zenithar are able to create and profit from the materials provided by Kinnereth's natural world. The two work in harmony, the natural world providing for the craftsman. One cannot revere Zenithar without acknowledging the power of Kinnereth.
What can you tell me about the mace?
Legends say that when Pelinal Whitestrike was slain by the aliens, a messenger carried the mace to the human settlement of Leowin as a message. Centuries later, the master craftsman St. Calidus built the Chapel of Zenithar in Leowin as a tribute to the legend. When St. Calidus was laid to rest, those who prayed to Zenithar at his tomb began to receive visions of the mace of the Crusader.
Tell me more about Zenithar.
Of the original divines, Zenithar is thought to be the most in touch with the mortal realm. Some legends say that Zenithar has close ties to Kinnereth, an idea that is supported by the manner in which the two gods' realms interact.
That wasn't exactly new.
Craftsmen devoted to Zenithar are able to create and profit from the materials provided by Kinnereth's natural world. The two work in harmony, the natural world providing for the craftsman. One cannot revere Zenithar without acknowledging the power of Kinnereth.
Tell me more about the mace.
Legends say that when Pelinal
Oh, for
Whitestrake was
God's
slain by
sake.
the aliens, a messenger carried the mace to the human settlement of Leowin as a message. Centuries later, the master craftsman, St. Calidus, built the Chapel of Zenithar in Leowin as a tribute to the legend. When St. Calidus was laid to rest, those who prayed to Zenithar at his tomb began to receive visions of the mace of the Crusader. Farewell. Well met.
All right then. I really like it when the game gets like this.
I've knelt before the shrine of St. Calidas in Leowin and found myself transported to some sort of dark void. I can see the mace of Zenithar off in the distance, but there seems to be no way to reach it. According to Sir Ralves, I must allow my faith in the Nine to guide me to the mace.
Only with a leap from the lion's head. Well. That was unexpected. Oh my god, not this again.
I grew up in Cheydinhal. My father was a cobbler. My mother was an acolyte of Zenithar. She was self-taught, not part of the chapel proper. They were both killed in an accident when I was young. I became a ward of the crown and was drafted into the Imperial Army. After serving 2 tours patrolling Stros Mackay, I left the service for a life devoted to Zenithar, inspired by my parents. Good day. Yes?
Good to see you.
So, given the possibility that this might kill me,
I stepped into the void to try and reach the Mace of Zenithar, but my feet met nothing but air, and I fell into the darkness. There must be a way to walk between the platforms and reach the mace. probably not what they had in mind. Knelt before the shrine of St. Caladas in Leowyn and found myself transported to some sort of dark void. I can see the Mace of Zenithar off in the distance, but there seems to be no way to reach it. According to Sir Ralves, I must allow my faith in the Nine to guide me to the mace. I stepped into the void to try and reach the Mace of Zenithar, but my feet met nothing but air, and I fell into the darkness. There must be a way to walk between the platforms and reach the mace.
So if I just go forward, that quite possibly kills me, just given that.
My attempts to reach the Mace of Zenithar have been unsuccessful. No matter what I try, I cannot reach the other platform. Perhaps the solution lies with one of the other relics.
So they talk about Kinnereth and Zenithar being one and the same, but Kinnereth was the god, or not the gauntlets, the boots.
You are unable to equip the holy armor. Walk the pilgrim's way to repent of your sins and once again seek the favor of the gods.
Interesting. I'm going to do something very silly. I wonder if I have anything that boosts my agility. Oh wow, it's taking off my stuff. Actually, I guess I should have, tried to put it on, yeah. Okay, there is actually one very silly thing I want to try. I don't know how telekinesis works, but it's probably one I should do a save on. I didn't. It was worth a try. So for now, I'll just worry about getting the remaining artifacts.
morning. How are you?
How are you?
You work for the glory of Zenithar.
It's recommending.
How are you today?
Spare a coin for...
The real test is the crashes. So I was sort of under the impression I'd already gone on the Pilgrim's Way, but
Can you spare a coin?
should take a second and see what my oh, my restoration's maxed out too, so I guess I need to decide. Alteration's probably not a bad one for me to build up. I suppose if I want to boost my ability, illusion would be the easier one. So I'm going to make a detour to my my home away from home. I can't remember if this is the bridge I'm looking for. Swimming with the horse is always a pain. That boat might have worked, who knows? It worked in Daggerfall. Alright, so as I said, take a hard right for a bit, and then we'll head back to the quest. I suspect this Zenithar one is going to be a bit of a pain, so I'll get in the mood. to... So, there is one possibility I need to allow for. There's been a couple of times where I thought that there was a bug, and it turns out that it's just a very counterintuitive kind of placement. So, for instance, merchants only being available at certain hours, but seeming like they're in the position where you would interact with them. And it strikes me as being very likely that if I look at a guide on, or not a guide, but like if I look at the wiki on the Crusader's armor. So again, I think I've done what's been required of me. I also think it's quite possible that if I look that up, it's probably going to tell me how the quest works overall. Man, there's so much stuff I can pick up here, but kind of need to figure out what matters. Oh my. Who are you?
At your service, Master.
I have no need of you right now.
Yes, Master. Whatever you say.
Good Lord. I've apparently accidentally become a cult leader. Jesus. Can we just, like, not be evil?
Sithis. Sithis is the start of the house. Before him was nothing. But the foolish Altmer have names for and revere this nothing. That is because they are lazy slaves. Indeed, from the sermons, stasis asks merely for itself, which is nothing. Sithis sundered the nothing and mutated the parts, fashioning from them a myriad of possibilities. These ideas ebbed and flowed and faded away, and this is how it should have been. One idea, however, became jealous and did not want to die. Like the stasis, he wanted to last. This was the demon Anu-El, who made friends, and they called themselves the Aedra. They enslaved everything that Sithis had made and created realms of everlasting imperfection. Thus are the Aedra the false gods, that is, illusion. So Sithis begat Lorkhan and sent him to destroy the universe. Lorkhan, unstable mutant. Lorkhan had found the Aedric weakness. While each rebel was, by their nature, immeasurable, they were through jealousy and vanity also separate from each other. They were also unwilling to go back to the nothing of before, so while they ruled their false dominions, Lorkhan filled the void with a myriad of new ideas. These ideas were legion. Soon it seemed that Lorkhan had a dominion of his own, with slaves and everlasting imperfections, and he seemed, for all the world, like an Aedra. Thus did he present himself as such to the demon Anu-El and the 8 givers as a friend. Go unto Sharmat Dagoth as a friend. A Herma Mora Altadun Padom Lakan AI. Obsculus Lame Balta Mesamortai. A brief account of Lame Bal and the Restless Death. By Iwanli, Scribe, translation by University of Gwilym Press, 3rd Era 105. As brighter grows light, darker becomes shadow. So it passed that the day Molag Bal looked on Arkay and thought the Aedra prideful of his domain o'er the death of man and Mer, and it was sooth. Baal, whose sphere is the wanton oppression and entrapment of mortal souls, sought to thwart Arkay, who knew that not man nor Mer nor beastfolk of all Nirn could escape eventual death. The Aedra was doubtless of his sphere, and so Molag Bal set upon Nirn to best death. Tamriel was still young, and filled with danger and wondrous magic when Baal walked in the aspect of a man and took a virgin, Lamea Belfag, from the Nadic peoples. Savage and loveless, Baal profaned her body, and her screams became the shrieking winds which still haunt certain winding fjords in Skyrim. Shedding a lone droplet of blood on her brow, Baal left Nirn, having sown his wrath. Violated and comatose, Lamea was found by nomads and cared for. A fortnight hence, the nomad Wyrd woman enshrouded Lamea in pall, for she had passed into death. In their way, the nomads built a bonfire to immolate the husk. That night, Lamea rose from her funeral pyre and set upon the coven, still aflame. She ripped the throats of the women, ate the eyes of the children, raped their men as cruelly as Baal had ravished her. And so Lamea, who is known to us as Blood Matron, imprecated her foul aspect upon the folk of Tamriel, and begat a brood of countless abominations, from which came the vampires, most cunning of the night horrors. And so was the scourge of undeath wrought upon Tamriel, cruelly mocking Arkay's rhythm of life and death throughout the coming eras of the Et Ada. And for all his sadness, Arkay knew that this could not be undone. Immortal Blood by Anonymous. The moons and stars were hidden from sight, making that particular quiet night especially dark. The town guard had to carry torches to make their rounds, but the man who came to call at my chapel carried no light with him. I came to learn that Morvath Pikin could see in the dark almost as well as the light, an excellent talent considering his interests were exclusively nocturnal. One of my acolytes brought him to me, and from the look of him, I at first thought he was in need of healing. He was pale to the point of opalescence, with a face that looked like it had once been very handsome before some unspeakable suffering. The dark circles under his eyes bespoke exhaustion, but the eyes themselves were alert, intense, almost insane. He quickly dismissed my notion that he himself was ill, though he did want to discuss a specific disease. Vampirism, he said, and then paused at my quizzical look. I was told that you were someone I should seek out for help understanding it. Who told you that? I asked with a smile. Decidia Gray. I immediately remembered her, a brave, beautiful knight who had needed my assistance separating fact from fiction on the subject of the vampire. It had been 2 years, and I had never heard whether my advice had proved effective. You've spoken to her. How is her ladyship? I asked. Dead, Morvath replied coldly, and then responding to my shock, he added, perhaps to soften the blow, She said your advice was invaluable, at least for the one vampire. When last I talked to her, she was tracking another. It killed her. And the advice I gave her was not enough, I sighed. Why do you think it would be enough for you? I was a teacher once myself, years ago, he said. Not in a university. A trainer in the Fighters Guild. But I know that if a student doesn't ask the right questions, the teacher cannot be responsible for his failure. I intend to ask you the right questions. And that he did. For hours he asked questions, and I answered what I could, but he never volunteered any information about himself. He never smiled, he only studied me with those intense eyes of his, committing every word I said to memory. Finally, I turned the questioning around. You said you were a trainer at the Fighters Guild. Are you on an assignment for them? No, he said curtly. And finally, I could detect some weariness in those feverish eyes of his. I would like to continue this tomorrow night, if I could. I need to get some sleep and absorb this. You sleep during the day, I smiled. To my surprise, he returned with a smile, though it was more of a grimace. When tracking your prey, you adapt to their habits. The next day, he did return with more questions. These ones were very specific. He wanted to know about the vampires of eastern Skyrim. I told him about the most powerful tribe, the Volkihar, paranoid and cruel, whose very breath could freeze their victims' blood in their veins. I explained to him how they lived beneath the ice of remote and haunted lakes, never venturing into the world of men except to feed. Morvath Pikain listened carefully and asked more questions into the night, until at last he was ready to leave. I will not see you for a few days, he said, but I will return and tell you how helpful your information has been. True to his word, the man returned to my chapel shortly after midnight 4 days later. There was a fresh scar on his cheek, but he was smiling that grim and satisfied smile of his. Your advice helped me very much, he said, but you should know that the Volokar have an additional ability you didn't mention. They can reach through the ice of their lakes without breaking it. It was quite a nasty surprise, being grabbed from below without any warning. How remarkable, I said with a laugh, and terrifying. You're lucky you survived. I don't believe in luck. I believe in knowledge and training. Your information helped me, and my skill at melee combat sealed the bloodsucker's fate. I've never believed in weaponry of any kind. Too many unknowns. Even the best swordsmith has created a flawed blade. But you know what your body is capable of. I know that I can land 1,000 blows without losing my balance, provided I get the first strike. The first strike, I murmured. So you must never be surprised. That's why I came to you, said Morvath. You know more than anyone alive about these monsters and all their cursed varieties across the land. Now you must tell me about the vampires of Northern Valenwood. I did as he asked, and once again his questions taxed my knowledge. There were many tribes to cover. The Bonsamu, who were indistinguishable from Bosmer except when seen by candlelight. The Kirlith, who could disintegrate into mist. The Akef, who swallowed men whole. The dread Telboth, who preyed on children, eventually taking their place in the family, waiting patiently for years before murdering them in all their unnatural hunger. Once again he bade me farewell, promising to return in a few weeks, and once again he returned as he said, just after midnight. This time Morvath had no fresh scars, but again he had new information. You were wrong about the Kirlith being unable to vaporize when pushed underwater, he said, patting my shoulder fondly. Fortunately, they cannot travel far in their mist form, and I was able to track it down. You must have survived it fearfully. Your field knowledge is becoming impressive. I said, I should like to have had an acolyte like you decades ago. Now tell me, he said, of the vampires of Cyrodiil. I told him what I could. There was but one tribe in Cyrodiil, a powerful clan who had ousted all other competitors, much like the Imperials themselves had done. Their true name was unknown, lost in history, but they were experts at concealment. If they kept themselves well fed, they were indistinguishable from living persons. They were cultured, more civilized than the vampires of the provinces, preferring to feed on victims while they were asleep, unaware. They will be difficult to surprise, Morvath frowned, but I will seek them out, and I will tell you what I learn. And then you will tell me of the vampires of High Rock, Hammerfell, and elsewhere, and Black Marsh and Morrowind and the Somerset Isles, yes? I nodded, knowing then that this was a man on an eternal quest. He wouldn't be satisfied with the barest hint of how things were. He needed to know it all. He did not return for a month, and on the night that he did, I could see his frustration and despair, though there were no lights burning in my chapel. I failed, he said, as I lit a candle. You were right. I could not find a single one. I brought the light up to my face and smiled. He was surprised, even stunned by the pallor of my flesh, the dark hunger in my ageless eyes, and the teeth. Oh yes, I think the teeth definitely surprised the man who could not afford to be surprised. I haven't fed in 72 hours, I explained, as I fell on him. He did not land the first blow, or the last.
I'm just going to get up from the keys for a quick minute. I will be back as soon as I can. put the kettle on for some tea, so there's going to be another very small break while I pour it, but... Manifesto Cyrodiil Vampirum.
To you whom we have seen stalking at night by eyes keen, transcendent of savages, sating thirst sans avarice, your coffers stay stuffed by social graces robust. None know your nature, save us. None share your fate, save us. None welcome you as kin, save us. On our order, know first that we are no simple tribe of savages, tearing throats with the orgiastic abandon of our scattered tribal brethren. Ours is a civil fraternity, to which we are bound, every one, by our dual hunger for flesh and influence. By the virtue of imperial structure and bureaucracy, Cyrodiil has become our stronghold in the Third Era, and we suffer no savage rivals within our boundaries, reveal ourselves to none, and manipulate the hand of society to mete out our agendas. On our dual patrons. To Kinfather Molag Bal, who brought forth the blood matron Lamea to spite Arche, we owe our existence, as do all vampires, though not all honor him. For we who revel in the feast and acknowledge the gift adrift in our veins, to patron Clavicus Vile, beacon o'er our affairs, we owe our success and social stature. Our bond with Vile makes us unique among our kind, for his guidance steals our savage craving with reason and savvy. For him we live amidst mankind and twist them to our will from offices of power. On our rivals, most barbaric tribes think themselves powerful by the gift of Baal's blood alone, and squander the gift. There are those, however, who show signs of enlightenment and earn our attention, those such as the Glenmoral Weird, who live within the walls of Breton cities, or the Wetfang Sodality of Black Marsh, who use magicka to keep captives catatonic and harvest from them the red nectar. These foes may one day threaten to impugn our sovereignty within the boundaries of Cyrodiil, thus compelling our vigilance. Should any encroach upon our dominion, our wrath must be swift and total. On our conduct, to preserve our ideals and way of life, 2 primary edicts shall be observed. Above all, reveal thyself and our order to no other, for discretion is the greatest of our virtues. Do not feed where you may be found out, or on those who may suspect your passing. Avoid daylight by lifestyle, dispel common belief in our kind, and maintain supple appearance through the satisfaction of the thirst. Second, devote your pursuits to the procurement of influence, political and otherwise. Our strength is not in physical numbers, but in skillful manipulation of society. Always be mindful of our patrons, and preserve the order. Devote yourself to these ideals always, and the order shall count you amongst our own.
All right, we will read Rislav the Righteous, but the kettle's boiling, so I'll be back in just a minute. Sorry about that.
Rislav the Righteous by Sinjin. Like all true heroes, Rislav Leric had inauspicious beginnings. We are told by chroniclers that the springtide night in the 448th year of the First Era on which he was born was unseasonably cold, and that his mother, Queen Linada, died very shortly after setting eyes upon her son. If he were much beloved of his father, King Moros of Skingrad, who already had plenty of heirs, 3 sons and 4 daughters before him, the chroniclers make no mention of it. His existence was so very undistinguished that we hear virtually nothing of him for the first 20 years of his life. His schooling, we can suppose, was similar to that of any spare prince in the Clovian West, with eyelid tutors to teach him the ways of hunting and battle. Etiquette, religious instruction, and even basic statecraft were seldom a part of the training of a prince of the Highlands, as it was in the more civilized valley of Nibene. There's a brief reference to him, together with his family, as part of the rolls of honor during the coronation of the Emperor Gorius on the 23rd of Sun's Dawn, First Era 461. The ceremony, of course, held during the time of the Elysian doctrines of Maruk, and so was without entertainment. But the 13-year-old Rislav was still witness to some of the greatest figures of legend. The beast of Anakina, Darlok Bray, represented his kingdom, giving honor to the empire. The chiefdom of Skyrim, Kiorak the White, and his son Hoag were in attendance. And despite the empire's intolerance of all elves, Keimer Induril Neverar and Dwemer Dumak Dwarf King were evidently there as well, diplomatically representing Rizdayan, all in relative peace. Also mentioned on the rolls was a young Mur in the service to the imperial court of High Rock, who was to have a great history with Rislav, Rayan Direni. Whether the two young men of about the same age met and conversed is entirely the stuff of historians' fancy. Rayan is spoken of in praising words as a powerful landowner, eventually buying the island of Belfiria in the Iliac Bay and gradually conquering all of High Rock and large parts of Hammerfell and Skyrim, but Risliev is not heard of again in history's books for another 17 years. We can only offer supposition based on the facts that follow. Children of kings are, of course, married to the children of other kings to bind alliances. The kingdoms of Skingrad and Kvatch skirmished over common territory throughout the 5th century until they reached a peace in the year of 472. The details of this accord are not recorded, but since we know that Prince Rislav was in the court of Kvatch 6 years later as husband to Belene, the daughter of King Justinius, it is fair to make an educated guess that they were married then to make peace. This brings us to the year 478, when a great plague swept through all of Cyrodiil and seemed particularly concentrated in the independent Colovian West. Among the victims were King Morus and the rest of the entire royal family in Skingrad. Rislav's only surviving elder brother, Dorold, survived, being in the imperial city as a priest of Maruk. He returned to his homeland to assume the throne. Of Dorold we have some history. The king's second son, he was slightly simple-minded and evidently very pious. All the chroniclers spoke of his sweetness and decency, how he saw a vision of his early years that brought him, with his father's blessing, from Skingrad to the imperial city and the priesthood. The priesthood of Maruk, of course, saw no difference between spiritual and political matters. It was the religion of the Elysian Empire, and it taught us that to resist the emperor was to resist the gods. Given that, it was scarcely a surprise what Dorald did when he became the king of the independent kingdom of Skingrad. His first edict, on the very first day, was to cede the kingdom to the empire. The reaction throughout the Colovian estates was shock and outrage, nowhere more so than in the court of Kvatch. Rislav Leric, we are told, rode forth to his brother's kingdom, together with his wife and 24 of his father-in-law's cavalry. It was surely not an impressive army, no matter how the chroniclers embellish it, but they had little trouble defeating all the guards. All the guards Dorald sent to stop them. In truth, there was no actual battling, for the soldiers of Skingrad relented in their new king's decision to give up their autonomy. Resented their new king's decision to give up their autonomy. The brothers faced one another in the castle courtyard where they had grown up. In typical Colovian fashion, there was no trial, no accusations of treason, no jury, no judge, only an executioner. "Thou art no brother of mine," Rislav Leric said, and struck Dorald's head from his shoulders in one blow. He was crowned king of Skingrad, still holding the same bloody axe in his arms. If King Rislav had no battle experience beforehand, that was shortly to change. Word spread quickly to the imperial city that Skingrad, once offered, was now being taken back. Gorius was an accomplished warrior even before taking the throne, and the 17 years he had as emperor were scarcely peaceful. Only 8 months before Dorald's assassination and Rislav's ascendancy, Gorius and the Elysian army had faced another of his coronation guests, Kiorak the White, on the fields of the frozen north. The High Chieftain of Skyrim lost his line in the Battle of Sungard. While the Pact of Chieftains was selecting a new leader, Cyrodiil was busily grabbing back the land of southern Skyrim that it had lost. In short, Emperor Gorius knew how to deal with rebellious vassals. The Elysian army poured westward like a flood of death, to borrow the chronicler's phrase, in numbers far exceeding what would be required to conquer Skingrad. Gorius could not have thought the actual battle was likely. Rislav, as we have said, had little to no experience at warfare and only a few days' practice at kingcraft. His kingdom and all of the Colovian West had just been ravaged by plague. The Elysians anticipated that a mere show of arms and a surrender. It doesn't make any sense. The Elysians anticipated that a mere show of arms and a surrender would produce a surrender. Rislav instead prepared for battle. He quickly inspected his troops and drew up plans. The chroniclers who had heretofore ignored the life of Rislav now devote verse after verse describing the king's aspect with fetishistic delight. While it may lack literary merit and taste, we are at least given some details at last. Not surprisingly, the king wore the finest armor of his era, as the Colovian estates then had the finest leathersmiths, the only type of armor available in all of Tamriel. The king's Kilbanian mail, boiled and waxed for hardness and studded with inch-long spikes, was a rich chestnut red, and he wore it over his black tunic, but under his black cloak. The statue of Rislav the Righteous, which now stands in Skingrad, is a romanticized version of the king, but not inaccurate except in the armor represented. No bard of the Colovian West would have gone to the market so lightly protected, but it does, as we will see, include the most important accoutrements of Rislav, his trained hawk and his fast horse. The winter rains had washed through the roads to the south, sending much of the west weald spilling into Valenwood. The emperor took the northern route, and King Risliav, with a small patrol of guards, met him at a low pass on what is now the Gold Road. The emperor's army, it is said, was so large that the beast of Anaquina could hear its march from hundreds of miles away, and despite himself, the chroniclers say he quaked in fear. Rislav, it was said, did not quake. With perfect politeness, he told the emperor that his party was too large to be accommodated in the tiny kingdom of Skingrad. Next time, Rislav said, "Write before you come." The emperor was, like most Elysian emperors, not a man of great humor, and he thought Rislav touched by Sheogorath. He ordered his personal guards to arrest the poor madman, but at that moment the king of Skingrad raised his arm and sent his hawk flying to the sky. It was a signal his army had been waiting for. The Elysian were all within the pass and the range of their arrows. King Rislav and his guard began riding westward as fast as they had been kissed by wild fast as if they had been kissed by wild Kinnereth, as the chroniclers said. He did not dare to look behind him, but his plan went faultlessly. The far eastern end of the pass was sealed by rolling boulders, giving the Elysian no direction to go but westward. The Skingrad archers rained arrows down upon the Imperial army from far above on the plateaus, remaining safe from reprisal. The furious Emperor Gorius chased Rislav from the weald to the highlands, leaving Skingrad far behind, all the while his army growing steadily smaller and smaller. In the ancient highland forest, the Imperial army met the army of Rislav's father-in-law, the King of Kavach. The Elysian army likely still outnumbered their opponents, but they were exhausted and their morale had been obliterated by the chase amid a sea of arrows. After an hour's battle, they retreated north into what was now the Imperial Reserve, and from there further north and east to slip back to nurse their wounds in Pride and Nibene. It was the beginning of the end of the Elysian hegemony, when kings of the Colovian West joined with Kavach and Skingrad to resist Imperial incursions. The clan Direni, under Ryan, was inspired to outlaw the religion of the Elysian reform throughout his lands in High Rock, and began pushing into Imperial territories. The new High Chief of Skyrim, Hoag, now called Hoag Mirkiller, though sharing the Emperor's official xenophobia, had joined the resistance. His heir, King Ysmir Wolfhearth of Atmora, helped continue the struggle upon Hoag's death in battle, and also ensured his place in history. The heroic king of Skingrad, who faced the Emperor's army virtually alone and triggered its end, justly deserves his sobriquet of Risliav the Righteous. Sacred Witness, A True History of the Night Mother by Enric Milres. I have met countesses and courtesans, empresses and witches, ladies of war, and slatterns of peace, but I have never met a woman like the Night Mother, and I never will again. I am a writer, a poet of some small renown. If I told you my name, you may have heard of me, but very likely not. For decades, until very recently, I had adopted the city of Sentinel on the coast of Hammerfell as my home, and kept the company of other artists, painters, tapistrists, and writers. No one I knew would have known an assassin by sight, least of all the queen of them, the Bloodflower, the Lady Death, the Night Mother. Not that I had not heard of her. Some years ago, I had the good fortune of meeting Parlane Assi, a respected scholar who had come to Hammerfell to do research for a book about the Order of Daigana. His essay, The Brothers of Darkness, together with Nier Gorming's Fire and Darkness, The Brotherhoods of Death, are considered to be the canon tomes on the subject of Tamriel's orders of assassins. By luck, Gorming himself was also in Sentinel, and I was privileged to sit with the two in a dark skooma den in the musty slums of the city as we smoked and talked about the Dark Brotherhood, the Morag Tong, and the Night Mother. While not disputing the possibility that the Night Mother may be immortal, or at the very least long-lived, Assi thought that it was most likely that several women, and perhaps some men, throughout the ages had assumed the honorary title. It was no more logical to say that there was only one Night Mother, he asserted, than it was to say that there was only one King of Sentinel. Gorming argued that there never was a Night Mother, at least no human one. The Night Mother was Mephala herself, whom the Brotherhood revered second only to Sithis. I don't suppose there's any way of knowing for certain, I said, in a note of diplomacy. Certainly there is, whispered Gorming with a grin. You could talk to that cloaked fellow in the corner. I'd not noticed the man before, who sat by himself, eyes hidden by his cloak, seemingly as much a part of the dingy place as the rough stone and the unswept floor. Turning back to Ynir, I asked him why that man would know the Night Mother. He's Dark Brother, hissed Perlain Assi. It's as plain as the moons. Don't even joke about speaking with him about her. We moved on to other arguments about the Morag Tong and the Brotherhood, but I never forgot the image of the lone man, looking at nothing and everything in the corner of the dirty room, with fumes of skooma smoke floating around him like ghosts. When I saw him weeks later on the streets of Sentinel, I followed him. Yes, I followed him. The reader may reasonably ask why and how. I don't blame you for that. How is simply a question of knowing my city as well as I do. I'm not a thief, not particularly sure-footed and quiet, but I know the alleys and streets of Sentinel intimately from decades' worth of ambling. I know which bridges creak, which buildings cast long irregular shadows, the intervals at which the native birds begin the undulations of their evening songs. With relative ease, I kept pace with the Dark Brother, and out of his sight and hearing. The answer to why is even simpler. I have the natural curiosity of the born writer. When I see a strange new animal, I must observe. It is the writer's curse. I trailed the cloak man deeper into the city, down an alleyway so narrow it was scarcely a crack between the two tenements, past a crooked fence, and suddenly, miraculously, I was in a place I had never seen before. A little courtyard cemetery with a dozen old half-rotted wooden tombstones. None of the surrounding buildings had windows that faced it, so no one knew this miniature necropolis existed. No one, except the 6 men and 1 woman standing in it. And me. The woman saw me immediately and gestured for me to come closer. I could have run, but no, I couldn't have. I had pierced a mystery right in my adopted sentinel, and I could not leave it. She knew my name, and she said it with a sweet smile. The Night Mother was a little old lady with fluffy white hair, cheeks like wrinkled apples that still carried the flush of youth, friendly eyes, blue as the Iliac Bay. She softly took my arm as we sat down amidst the graves and discussed murder. She was not always in Hammerfell, not always available for direct assignment, but it seemed she enjoyed actually talking to her clientele. I did not come here to hire the Brotherhood, I said respectfully. Then why are you here? The Night Mother asked, her eyes never leaving mine. I told her I wanted to know about her. I did not expect an answer to that, but she told me. I do not mind the stories you writers dream up about me, she chuckled. Some of them are very amusing. Some of them are good for business. I like the sexy dark woman lounging on the divan in Karlovac Townway's fiction particularly. The truth is that my history would not make a very dramatic tale. I was a thief, long, long ago, back when the Thieves' Guild was only beginning. It's such a bother to sneak around a house when performing a burglary, and many of us found it more efficacious to strangle the occupant of the house, just for convenience. I suggested to the guild that a segment of our order be dedicated to the arts and sciences of murder. It did not seem like a controversial idea to me, the Night Mother shrugged. We had specialists in cat burglary, pickpocketing, lockpicking, fencing, all the other essential parts of the job. But the guild thought that encouraging murder would be bad for business. Too much, they argued. They might have been right, the old woman continued, but I discovered there is a profit to be made just the same from sudden death. Not only can one rob the deceased, but if your victim has enemies, which rich people often do, you can be paid for it even more. I began to murder people differently when I discovered that. After I strangled them, I would put 2 stones in their eyes, one black, one white. Why, I asked. It was a sort of calling card of mine. You're a writer. Don't you want your name on your books? I couldn't use my name, but I wanted potential clients to know me and my work. I don't do it anymore, no need to, but at the time, it was my signature. Word spread, and I soon had quite a successful business. And that became the Morag Tong, I asked. Oh dear me, no, the Night Mother smiled. The Morag Tong was around long before my time. I know I'm old, but I'm not that old. I merely hired on some of their assassins when they began to fall apart after the murder of the last potentate. They did not want to be members of the Tong anymore, and since I was the only other murder syndicate of any note, they just joined on. I phrased my next question carefully. Will you kill me now that you've told me all this? She nodded sadly, letting out a little grandmotherly sigh. You're such a nice, polite young man. I hate to end our acquaintanceship. I don't suppose that you would agree to a concession or two in exchange for your life, would you? To my everlasting shame, I did agree. I said that I would say nothing about our meeting, which, as the reader can see, was a promise I eventually years later chose not to keep. Why have I endangered my life thus? Because of the promises I did keep. I held the Night Mother and the Dark Brotherhood in acts too despicable, too bloody for me to set to paper. My hand quivers as I think about the people I betrayed, beginning with that night. I tried to write my poetry, but ink seemed to turn to blood. Finally I fled, changing my name, going to a land where no one would know me. And I wrote this, the true history of the Night Mother, from the interview she gave me on the night that we met. It will be the last thing I ever write, this I know, and every word is true. Pray for me. Editor's note. Though originally published anonymously, the identity of the author has never been in any serious doubt. Any layman familiar with the work of the poet Enric Milres will recognize Sacred Witness's familiar cadence and style in such books of his as The Alakir. Shortly after publication, Milres was murdered and his killer was never found. He has been strangled, and 2 stones, a black one and a white one, crushed into his eye sockets, very brutally.
Should put a sunroof in here.
Shrine to Sithis is now active. Grant your honorable nature, and you shall be rewarded.
I don't want to be. I've told 382 jokes.
Only a vampire carrying purge blood salts may use the pool.
Heh. Get me out of here. It's rare for me to find some locations I haven't seen yet. So we'll find the cave, and the Daedric portal doesn't really count because we've already finished the main quest, so they should all be shut down. Still, it's a nice reminder that there's still things to discover.
I found Fort Bulwark. I need to get inside and find the shield. So I need to make sure that this music is done before I leave the horse. Thought I heard someone. Better not be coming for my horse. Nope, horse is fine. Sounds like they're coming after my horse.
assuming that means that it's at full capacity. Aha.
To arms! To arms!
I am, of course, making something of an assumption that these people are actually worthy targets. Otherwise, I am a very bad person. Never mind. There's obviously nothing inherently evil about conjurers, but I'm assuming these ones are. Are up to no good. Guess my infamy would be going up if it was killing innocents. No, I would have thought that there was a way up. All right, well. Oh, did not realize that So that's not just a restore... That's not just a restore fatigue, that's a reflect damage. Gotta remember that. I was just getting impatient.
If it's a fight you want,
I think I'm gonna leave the potions for now.
Acolytes, the shield is here. We know this, and yet we have not found it. The fort has been cleansed, and yet it still eludes us. No doubt it was hidden from eyes such as ours, hidden with the intent to keep it from those who would learn its secrets. The gate to the lower levels no longer halts our progress. Make note of the candles along the walls if you would pass through. The fort must be held at all costs if we are to succeed. Let none enter, leave no foe standing.
So the candles are obviously some kind of a hint, but... not where I wanted to go. I'm gonna go back to those candles and read the Conjurer's Note a little more carefully. I should have dropped these off at my my other home. I think for some reason I thought that was in the Shrine of Sithis.
Acolytes, the shield is here. We know this, and yet we have not found it. The fort has been cleansed, and yet still it eludes us. No doubt it was hidden from eyes such as ours, hidden with the intent to keep it from those who would learn its secrets. The gate to the lower levels no longer halts our progress. Make note of the candles along the walls if you would pass through. The fort must be held at all costs if we are to succeed. Let none enter, leave no foe standing.
gonna get in the habit of casting this frequently. I'm not going to constantly do this, but while I'm sort of running around doing other stuff. Okay, it actually doesn't take that much to raise a level. Close. I thought this was some kind of an interaction with the candles, but it's just the stuff on the table. I really thought there was something here. Darn it. So first thing I probably want to do is just see if there's a path to those shaded areas. It's like this doesn't really do a whole lot for me. This is just shaded out because there's really nothing there. Or at least from this side, obviously. Ow! So this is just the way back to... So that doesn't mean anything. So chances are I've actually already been to all these different spots. At this point, this is just a pastime while, this is useless to me. And these are pretty hard ends, so... One of the things I am a little uneasy about is the fact that I don't quite have a command of the... Like, it's not that complicated of a map, but... Clearly I don't have that. I've not quite nailed the layout. Okay, so as far as I can tell, there are no candles in sort of this immediate area. The first set of candles are here. Second set here. Third here. I don't know if I checked these. So this is like a... The thing is... Oh, hang on. No? Yeah, at this point I'm just jumping at every candle I see.
The shield is here, we know this, and yet we have not found it. The fort has been cleansed, and yet still it eludes us. No doubt it was hidden from eyes such as ours, hidden with the intent to keep it from those who would learn its secrets. The gate to the lower levels no longer halts our progress. Make note of the candles along the walls if you would pass through.
It's not a candle along the wall. This is. It's gotta be like a lever or something. Glad that running's doing me some good. I really would have thought they put some physics on that. So I just wanted to see whether or not there was any kind of candle down here that I was missing. But I'm pretty sure it's just the ones here, which apparently don't count as being along the walls. So as far as candles along the walls are concerned, there's two, well, four total, two groups. Two close together, two spaced apart. I don't know if there's anything that I really want to draw from that. No interactions, as far as I can tell. Alright, and I don't know if you heard that dinging. I hate to do this because... So, I don't like getting up in the middle of this sort of stuff because I'm obviously stuck. And I really make an effort to try and engage this game on its own terms. But obviously when you get up and go to the bathroom and all of a sudden you get the solution, it's like, yeah, okay, you checked out the guide. But I'm letting technology rule my life, and I do need to get up and do a bit of a stretch. So I'm going to go, I'm going to struggle with this for a bit longer. And I suppose if I can't make it any further, I may break down and consult the wiki. But for now, I'm going to get a quick stretch, and I'll be back hopefully within a minute. All right. One last batch of the candles. That should be the last. I mean, we're getting close to the end anyway, but that should be the last break. I used to do this before combat. I think I just got tired of hitting the different buttons. So yeah, this would be the least likely spot for me to find anything. At this point, I'm just triggering it to defile the corpse. Oh, wait a minute. I'm an idiot. These are interactive. For some reason I thought there's decoration. But yeah, that is not even a puzzle. I just didn't realize. I wonder if that opened all of them. Nope, fair enough. Yeah, okay, that's just me being an idiot. I totally used one of those before, I just, for some reason, didn't think it was interactable. Maybe it's just because it's on the ground. What was the point of that? Ah. Oh, hang on, I think I get it. So, position 1, position 2, position 3, position 1. Yeah, so the candle thing was super easy. It's just finding the handle. So if I had to do this, I'd probably just start the level with a handle like that, just so you know to use it. But I don't know. Maybe I think it's kind of reasonable for them to have assumed that they've established that convention elsewhere. These have physics.
Help me!
You've unlocked more arcane secrets of altering the fabric of reality. You can now cast expert-level alteration spells.
Thank you for rescuing me. I've lost track of how long they've held me here.
Who are you?
I am Sir Thedred. I came here seeking the shield of the Crusader. and was ambushed by these cowards. They've held me here since.
What are you doing here?
I've been held prisoner by these scoundrels for the longest time. They want to know how to reach the shield, and believed I would help them. When I refused, they locked me here, and only let me out to torture me. They got nothing from me.
Can you help me?
I can't go with you if that's what you mean. I'm too weak. I need to rest. Once I have my strength, I will certainly join your cause. You'll have to go on alone, but the knowledge I've gained may be of use to you.
What do you know?
Before finding this place, I learned a bit about those who created it. It's designed to keep the shield hidden and safe. Phrase kept coming up in the writings I found. When the eyes of the Guardians are upon you, Julianos will show you favor. I'm not sure how, but I just know it's a clue for making it safely through these ruins. You're the only one I've told. I hope it helps you.
I've rescued Sir Thedret, a knight imprisoned within the fort. I need to watch out for traps in the lower levels, and remember the phrase, when the eyes of the Guardians are upon you, Julianos will show you favor.
If I wasn't such a pack rat, I would have made some decent money off of the staves, but I'm assuming this has some meaning. I'll confess, at this point I'm kind of assuming that the rest of this quest is more or less straightforward. I am, however, really curious about So I have a feeling that I'm supposed to be able to equip the, So honestly, I think I'm supposed to be able to equip the boots, because of the association between Kinrith and Zenithar, but I also think because I have a level of infamy that, what on earth? By the way, I do hope that the underwear is the same as it is in the base game. I know at least the male models seem to have very drafty backs. So they just didn't equip. Oh, because of the vest. That still doesn't. You know, I'm not even gonna question it. So, the eyes of the Guardians on you, I'm assuming we have to turn them in on the... I'm assuming I won't find conjurers here because they said they couldn't find the shield, but... Anyway, sorry. So yeah, I think I'm supposed to be able to equip those boots, and because I have infamy, the only thing is I'm not really clear what they mean by...
I found some sort of puzzle or trap deep inside Fort Bulwark. I need to figure out what it means in order to acquire the Shield of the Crusader.
Didn't I take the helm? I get it. Maybe I don't. It's like, obviously this stuff isn't really lining up. Okay. So, I don't know if it just randomly distributes them, but clearly, it would seem to me that, yeah, I gotta line it up properly, but if I hold on to one item, it's not necessarily gonna show me where, I'm not 100% sure, this might be wrong. Yeah. Oh, that was one off. So that one I kind of got by process of elimination. I probably don't need the hints for the rest, but it doesn't hurt to get a confirmation nonetheless. Again, process of elimination. Or is it? Hang on. Well, that's only going to tell me the skull, so... Okay, well, clearly that was wrong. Oh, maybe it was this one. Oh, that's right, the gem. Car's S word.
I have recovered the shield of the Crusader. I've completed Sir Heinrich's quest by recovering the shield of the Crusader. I should continue to search for the relics that the other ghost knights were questing for.
Oh no. It looks like things are locked up. Am I gonna have to do this all over again? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I would have thought that pilgrimage would have, Well, probably my best bet at this point is to just try the way shrines again, because it's obvious I'm not going to be able to equip. Because the thing is, I don't remember when I, how much you want to bet it doesn't show me the way shrines on the map. Ah! I seem to remember we found a number of them on the road, so let's start at Leowin and move on. If nothing else, we can sell some items. But yeah, so the big problem here is that I can't remember where I got that infamy from. And so, if I had done... So here's the hypothesis. It's telling me to do the pilgrimage again, which, you know, fair enough. I guess that's their decision to make this really, really tedious. Now, it's possible that I had 0 infamy maybe at the time that I got the vision, or, you know, whatever, right? I'm really not in a position to say where my infamy was at certain moments. So, you know, again, it's a bit of a stretch, and I have no idea how I'm properly gonna keep track of all of this. But my best lead is that I need to equip the boots that are associated with Kinnereth. Oh, Jesus. And the thing that keeps me from equipping those boots is my infamy. I'm probably not going to be able to do all the way shrines in time, but let's at least cover the, you know, the parts that we can. I think maybe I'll just do like a circuit around town. I mean, with that in mind, you know, heading up this way might make more sense. I don't remember a lot of way shrines there, though. I think the big problem I ran into was, I kind of found them all by random. Or at random. I was just doing other things and encountered them, but of course now this is the focus of my quest. I mean, I suppose I can try and do other stuff. But at least for now I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do. Maybe I'll try and find something kind of related that will let me explore. I suppose trying to do some Fighters Guild quests might make some sense. And then, I mean, I guess in the worst case scenario, if I really get bored, I can just either I do the search on my own, or, I mean, it's not, the not looking at wikis thing is not like a major point of pride, right? Like, if it makes things easier and more fun, I don't mind, like, looking up a map. Generally, though, I'm reluctant to do it, because the whole point of this has been to experience the experience the game as people would have at the time. Mud crab. So I'll maybe take a quick peek at the back. I don't think there's any way shrines, but doesn't hurt to double check. Pretty sure it's just water. I do know one way shrine was sort of away in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the river. That was the last one that I found before the vision. Doesn't really seem to be all that. Oh, is there really a landway over here? I find that hard to believe. I want to try and find that pilgrim again. Maybe we can get the Canterbury Tales going as we're visiting all the way shrines. Could be on the wrong road for this, incidentally. So there's one. Let's do it quick so we don't have to fight.
Continue your penance to earn the gods' forgiveness.
Go away. I should take a second here so it doesn't show up on the map. And that was Stendar. Stop! Oh god, not another one. So I have a little notebook in front of me. I'm actually going to write down each of these way shrines.
Oh, what's the matter? Is the baby gonna cry?
Some of the combat barks are very... I don't know, I wouldn't associate them with high fantasy. It's like, yes, he's in glass armor, but he's saying the sort of thing like a grade 4 bully would say. Actually, I think I had a friend of a friend say that to me during a Dota game. I was like, are you 12? Anyways. At this point, I'm just trying to keep in my head that it was Stendar that we visited. And I'm hoping that's right. Oh, come on! Who are you?
Well met. Bye.
Just getting my notebook. So it's also possible that I've already visited some of these, but... Oh, also, I should completely be... Yeah, I should probably visit one of these cities to sell some of my stuff. But first...
Hello.
So this is probably not going to be too helpful in terms of unloading a lot of my stuff, just because I seem to recall travel is relatively poor. But even just getting rid of some of the stuff is fine.
Well met.
Let's trade.
Only quality goods for sale here.
Yeah, 800
What can I
is
interest you in?
tough for me to work with.
You got a great... That's just not reasonable.
So this is considerably heavier. I'm going to hang on to both, which I hate, but...
You've made a good bit. That's more than I'd usually pay. You got a great deal there.
So much sorcery.
You've made...
Let it not be said I don't do fan service.
That's more than I'd usually pay. You drive an excellent bargain. That's a good deal. An excellent bargain. An excellent...
Some of these I know I already have. Oh, this may help. I feel like these should be worth more, but...
That's more than I'd usually pay. Thank you for your patronage. Farewell.
Ah, Alright, that makes it... Okay, so first of all, this is going to be a pain, but that makes it considerably easier. So we visit Stendar, Zenithar, Talos is not too far away, and then it seems to me we go Mara, Arche, Dabella, Akatosh, Julianos, Kinnereth, and then cross the bridge. But that is something that we're going to handle in the next broadcast. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.